So if you've got a Volvo S80 and your car is running like this, it's probably your electronic throttle module. Big piece of junk by Volvo. Thanks, guys. We're going to see if we can't fix it today. Okay, if your car was idling like that, that's probably the reason why, that electronic throttle module. Over the next hour and a half or so, we're going to take that guy off. We're going to clean it up and put it back on. A couple words of caution here. The bolts on the top here, don't take it off. They're on the very bottom. One in the front here, one in the front here, and of course two way in the back. They're not as hard to get to as you'd think. If you have small hands, you'll be able to get to them pretty easily. First things you'll have to do is take this plastic tube off right here. On the bottom by the throttle module and up here on the top. And also it helps to remove this cold air intake that we're looking at right now. Also, this little vacuum line here tends to fall off a lot during the installation of the pipes that we just saw. Just make sure that thing is back on, otherwise your car won't run properly. Some people say to take the dipstick off and all those good things. I am not going to do that. Also, as you'll see in a little while here, that wire harness, I'm not going to take that off as well. I'm going to clean the unit right inside the car here, putting some towels and stuff down. Real simple process. Stick around and we'll show you what it looks like when we get it off. First thing we got to do is take the ground off the battery, and real simple job. Just pop the ground off and just leave it dangle there. Make sure it can't fall back onto the battery itself, and hook everything back up for you. Alright, the tools for this job should be pretty simple. Nice can of carburetor cleaner. I went ahead and got throttle body cleaner. Some wire brushes here. Probably a screwdriver, although I don't know. 10mm socket and a 7mm socket to remove the little clips. Although you can use a screwdriver if you don't have a 7mm. Some rubber gloves, because I don't like getting my hands all stinky with that gunk. And of course, most important part, little safety glasses here so you don't get your eyes spattered with nasty chemicals and such. So, the bolts are actually underneath the bottom of this throttle plate or throttle device here. I've got these three out. The one here in the front, one here in the front, actually it's way underneath the bottom, and one in the back here. The one in the far back on the left-hand side over here is going to be the hardest one to get to. I loosened it up by coming in with a long extension on this side here. However, to actually get to it, if you stick your hand all the way from this side here, you can get to it very easily and unscrew the thing. You will have to remove this goofy little tube for the intake that goes up by the radiator here. So far I'm about 25 minutes into this thing here, and I think it's actually going pretty good. So your time might vary, but just keep in mind that the tip to get the back one in the left is to come to it from the right. So let's go ahead and take the last bolt off. ETM out this far here. Those are Torx T20s holding that little plastic electrical clip on. I'm not going to mess with that thing. My luck is it's going to bust off and wires are going to break off, and Volvo will charge me $1,000 to put this thing back together like they like to do. You can see this thing's pretty crud filled here. Lots of gook and gunk. We're going to clean this out with our gunk cleaner and stuff. You can move the throttle plate back and forth, and this one moves fairly freely, which worries me a bit. I was hoping it would stick a little bit. That way I'd feel better about it. It's a little idle problem, but nonetheless, we're going to put a lot of rags and stuff around this thing. Keep gunk from dripping on the floor. Obviously flammable, so if you're smoking a cigarette, now's the time to put it out. Have a fire extinguisher handy if you're paranoid like I am. Anyway, I'm about 30 minutes into this thing here. Only went through 2 sets of rubber gloves, getting bolts out, but give you an idea kind of what we've done is we've sprayed the stuff in here. And then we get our little brush out and just kind of clean this goop out of here very lightly. I wouldn't go beating this thing with a wire brush like you want to, but sort of clean this out. It's going to get real gunked up in there. Every once in a while, just get your can that fell on the floor, that the top fell off, and give it a good spray. And then I just kind of open it up here and let it drain out. And just repeat that until it's nice and sparkly clean. Okay, that's the first side here. I'm going to turn it over so you can see what it looks like, but we're going to get the second side here. One thing I wasn't able to show you is to clean the edge of that blade off. I did it by opening up with one hand and spraying it and wire brushing with the other. I couldn't hold the camera to show you that, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Once you open it up, you'll see the edge of that blade all kind of gunked up with whatever that stuff is. Anyway, let me clean the back here, and I will show you what both sides look like after. Okay, I've been cleaning this thing for about 30 minutes now, maybe 25, and very, very shiny inside. That was all black. At the end of that little brush there, if you can kind of see what's wedging that door open. So I basically got it wet with the cleaner, lightly rubbed it down with the brush, and rinsed it off with the cleaner, and kept repeating that until I got this thing nice and spotless inside. I think this is a very, very clean unit here. There's the edge that I was talking about earlier. You can see the light reflecting off that. I'm going to wipe that down with a rag there, but that was all gunked up too. It's probably a good reason to hold the door open carefully and clean it out. Now, where the shaft here goes into the body, there's electronics behind there, so you don't want to sit there and spray stuff directly into that, but I think running it over will be fine. Don't quote me on that one, but that's what I did. Anyway, the other side is equally as clean. I'm not going to flip this thing over. I think you get the point at this time. Time to put it all back together here. Make sure you put that gasket back on there, and again, put the bolts back in the way you got them out, and tighten it up, and hopefully it will run. You can see the gasket is on there. The bolts actually went in a whole lot easier than they were to get out, maybe because I just knew where they were. I think I spent maybe 5 minutes putting that thing back in, if that. Plastic tubes are back on. That one down there was the hardest one to get on. This guy up here, he snapped right in, and of course the vent to the by the radiator intake. Like I said earlier, plastic parts love to break. I busted that one right there, holding that little electrical clip on. I'm going to find something a little later on to replace that, but for right now, let's go ahead and reconnect the battery and show you how it works. Okay, just took the car for a ride to warm it up. Obviously the battery was off and put back on, so the clock is set. That's what the idle should be there. Very, very smooth. I haven't been able to get it to do the nasty idling that it did just a few minutes ago here. It's about an hour and a half to do this whole job. 30-40 minutes to pull the unit off because it was the first time I've ever done it. 30 minutes cleaning it and a little bit of time putting it back on. I put this complexity with the line of, say, replacing brake pads. It really wasn't hard. Most difficult thing was getting the bolts out because they're so small in the very back of the units. You got to kind of dig for them. Anyway, hope this helps you keep your Volvo. By the way, this is a 2001 S80 with 127,000 miles. So good luck.